when you hear some of your boys are going with these other girls up in these other motels, you think like you gotta do the same thing.
Yeah, I guess you could say that. Sometimes people just want to just do it, like, because everybody's doing it.
Not exactly. If you want to do it, you do it. Nobody's really going to pressure you to do it.
I really don't think it's pressure to have sex. I just think everybody's doing it, and it's just what everybody's doing. It's not like, oh, if you don't have sex, it's not like you're cool if you're not cool if you don't have sex.
I think that there is pressure for young people to have sex because a lot of girls feel that if she does have sex with a guy, then he'll like her. So she figures, oh, I'll just give it up and then he'll like me, but in truth, he's just using her.
Yes, very much so.
I think so, just because of situations that society has set up.
I think it's a big part of today's society, but I don't think that, depending on what decisions you make, you've got to like set limits for yourself, I think.
I think they definitely do, because I mean, at parties and stuff, people are always like hooking up, and you don't want to be like lagging behind everyone or something.
Well, I think everybody's giving it up too young. I'm not joking. Well, I know, like, I've seen, like, heard a lot of things about people, like, wanting to wait until they're, like, married, like, or at least, like, 21 or something, but I know girls, like, 13 and stuff. I mean, it's like kids. It's a little ridiculous.
Kids these days, they're sexually active when they're 12. They're wanting to sleep around with everybody.
I don't think they get pressure from like friends and stuff, but I think sometimes they would just be like more themselves, like they want to do it themselves. Yeah, but I don't think it's really like your friends say like, oh, you haven't had sex or whatever, and then you feel like pressure to do something.
In reality, less than half of all high school students are sexually active.
A recent study by the Center for Disease Control reports the number of high school students who say they have never had sexual intercourse rose by almost 10% between 1991 and 2001.
This statistic is part of a trend that a 2002 Newsweek issue coined as the new virginity.
This trend is further confirmed by a variety of movements that encourage young people to choose dating purity and abstain from sexual activity.
Even young people who have been sexually active in the past are invited to renew their virginity, pledging to abstain until marriage.
How much influence do teenagers have on each other when it comes to sexual matters? And do they believe that true love waits for marriage? That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Jack.
And I'm Beth. And this is Real Faith TV.
We'll talk with teens in the street and our studio guests about sex and peer pressure.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Christina, and find out if she has experienced peer pressure about sex.
I do feel that people in my age group are pressured to be sexually active because people in my age group think that it's a popularity thing to be sexually active, so they get pressured into doing it. And especially girls that are in my age group, they feel that if another girl that they know is sexually active and they're popular, they feel that they can be popular if they become sexually active as well.
Does that work? Does that make them popular?
I'm guessing yes. From my school, a lot of the sexually active girls are popular, and a lot of the guys in the school think it's cool that they're sexually active. I think that, in my opinion, I think that people in my age group think it's just a casual thing. It's no big deal.
Social pressure is often given by teens as the reason they did not postpone sexual activity.
More than 1/4 of people who later express regret about their first sexual experience say they felt pressured by peers.
Let's meet our guests and find out what their experience is. They are Ross, Marissa, Meredith, Anthony, Caitlin, and Alex.
So, have any of you felt pressured by a dating partner or another teen to become sexually active, or have you heard of anyone else who was?
I don't think so much of myself, to be pressured by my friends, because my close-knit friends, we don't really care, if you've had sex or haven't had sex, you're still going to be our friend either way. But walking down the halls in school, you hear somebody talking with someone else, oh, did you have sex with her? Did you have sex with her? Blah, blah, blah. And, just constantly, like, trying to, pound them and find out information. I think that is, in and of itself, a lot of pressure. Like, you don't want to say, no, and then have them laugh at you, but you don't want to say yes and hurt her feelings, and it's, you're pressured to find an answer, and you're also being pressured to, maybe reconsider what you have done or haven't done.
Yeah, I'm not really one to kiss and tell, but it goes with, you don't even have to. You could pressure someone else and not even know it. Like, you could be the one telling the person, like, if they're asking you a question, be like, oh, what happened? You'll be like, oh, well, this happened and this happened, but you don't mean to influence what they do, but whatever you do could influence someone else without even you knowing it.
Yeah, I think that just matter of that we talk about it so much, just that we speak so lightly of sex nowadays, and it's become so casual in conversation. I think that's kind of puts pressure on people to make their choice.
I think one of the problems is, especially with guys, like a lot of times they think of it as almost like a competition, who can round the bases first, and I think that's one of the problems, because that leads to that kind of stuff. And
I think that can kind of be true for girls too, because I think that a lot of girls think that the girls who go out and get with a lot of guys and the ones that you're talking about, oh, this girl had sex with that guy, that they think that that's what guys want. And that's not necessarily always the case, but when you hear it being discussed in the hallways at school or whatever, you begin to think that that's what they want and that's what people are looking for, and I think that puts pressure from the girls' point of view.
Yeah, I think it really goes back to what Meredith was saying, that people don't really take it as that big a deal anymore. They really talk about it, really lightly. It's not really that much of a sacred thing anymore.
Christina had an experience where a guy tried to pressure her into having sex.
Let's hear her story now.
I did have an experience. Back in my old neighborhood, this boy was pressuring me into having sex and doing sexual things. I wasn't comfortable with it, and I kept telling him no. And once it got to a point where I didn't want to hear it from him, and I told him to his face, I didn't want to hear this from you anymore, he started going around and spreading rumors about that I was being sexually active and that I was having a problem with my body, as in having STDs, when I actually didn't. I kept ignoring it, but then it got so bad that I just would go home, cry every day in school, after school. But it got to a point where I couldn't take it anymore, so I confronted him about it, and I went to his parents and talked to them about it, and they resolved it with him on their own.
I think it's really good that she was able to confront her boyfriend about what was going on. Teens are influenced as much by their perception of what their peers are doing as they are by direct pressure from the peer group.
And the media influences our expectations. It gives the impression that everyone is sexually active.
Popular forms of music, television, and movies lead us to believe that virginity is the exception, not the expectation.
Let's go back to the teens on the street to find out who influences them when it comes to sexual matters.
Who influences your decisions when it comes to sexual matters?
Myself. When it comes to sex, I influence myself.
Definitely friends, definitely.
I do. I make my own decisions.
I do. Nobody could really influence me. If I feel like doing it, I'll do it. If I don't, I won't.
I influence my decisions. Who else is going to influence my decisions, I'm in charge of my own life, Nobody else is going to influence my decisions.
Sexual education and culture in America is so pent up and dishonest that you really can't let it influence yourself. You have to educate yourself, and the final decision has to come down to you.
I definitely wouldn't say family or faith, really. I suppose the media plays a big part in it, and friends, stories or what have you.
I think a lot of influence for making your decision comes from your friends, from the guys, from the stereotype of what's supposed to be right or what you're supposed to do.
I found my own morals and stuff based on what I believe in.
What your parents have kind of raised you to believe in, your morals, values.
Seems like a lot of the teens really think that their friends have a huge influence on a lot of the decisions they make in this area. But not all peer groups have a negative influence on teens.
Other teens can influence you positively and reinforce the values that your family has shared with you to this point.
So what have your experiences been? Who influences you guys when it comes to sexual matters?
Well, I have a positive group of friends, and we all have like the same morals and values and goals in life, and we're all waiting until we get married to have sex.
Yeah, same here. My friends are really into they're all really religious, and we all know that God wants us to wait until after we're married to have sex. So we actually joined a program called True Love Waits, and it's a class where they teach us how God feels about sex and that it's okay to have sex after you're married. And we actually have rings to remind us that to wait until marriage.
That's really neat.
I actually went to a program called True Love Waits, but it was like a one-day thing. And we had this one segment where we had a heart, that was our heart, and we had to cut it up, saying like if we had sex, our heart would be in different pieces, and so many people would have different pieces of our heart, so it wouldn't be full for the person that we married.
Oh, that's a really cool analogy. I like
good.
that.
I kind of agree with one of the guys on the street. He said that he influences his decisions, and I think that's true. At least for me anyway. If I hear all my friends talking about how they went out and decided that last weekend they were all going to go out and have sex, I don't think that I would be like, all right, cool, let's go, you know? I make my own decisions, and I think, you know, I'm going to stick to my guns, and I'm going to listen to myself.
I think that your ultimate influence should be your faith. I definitely think that what you believe in should be what influences you the most. Like not your friends, your parents or anything, like your faith should definitely be where your main inspiration is coming from.
Right.
There was another thing that we did where you listed like jobs that you wanted to have when you were older. But if you had sex and had a baby, where are you going to be when you're older? You can't have that job if you're taking care of your baby when you're 15 or 17.
Yeah.
So that's how it really, like, where you looked into it and said, wow, my life would be so much different.
When you start thinking about the
Makes it
consequences
realize.
of your
Exactly.
actions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I get advice from my mom because I trust her a lot, and I know that she's very religious, and I think that she always does the right thing, so I look up to her for advice on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I think you'd always get advice from adults, and like I have a bond with my uncle, and I go to him for any kind of advice, whether it be about sex or drugs or anything. Anything I have a question about, I can just go to him and ask, and he'll be like, all right, this is what you have to do, and this is what not to do.
But also I think that if you don't have anyone to turn to, you can always turn to God. You can always pray to him and ask him for help.
We have to be able to recognize what's true and what's false.
Just because many movies and television programs show teenagers as sexually active doesn't mean that's the way that it is or the way that it should be.
These programs almost always glamorize sex and rarely show the painful consequences of being sexually active before you're married.
This leads teens to believe many common misconceptions about sexual activity.
These lies are passed from person to person, like rumors and gossip.
Yeah, like everybody's having sex.
Or you can't get pregnant the first time.
Let's go back to our teens on the street and find out what they think some of the misconceptions are that teens have about sex.
Everything's really true about it. I mean, the STDs that are going around, there's a lot of that going around because everybody's just sleeping around with everybody.
Some teens take sex like not serious enough, and like it's just they just think it's like a game, and like those are the people who wind up like STDs and stuff.
Misconceptions of teenagers and sex. I don't know. Everybody thinks that like when you meet a girl you have to have sex, but I don't know. I'm not all into that.
I think people think that mostly everyone is doing it when in reality not a lot of people are doing it. But they just figure that they are and that it's a normal thing, but it's not.
That the misconception is that everybody's doing it, and also that if you do it, that the guy is going to like you, but he's actually not.
I think a misconception is that everyone's really eager to have sex, because not everyone is.
I think people think that it's very cliche to have sex and that they have to do that in order to be independent and to grow up. Whereas in the real world, you actually have to respect your body in order to fully mature and to be yourself.
A lot of people think I guess from my point of view, a lot of people think like it doesn't matter, as long as you don't get anyone pregnant. But I guess for me, it's just like a moral issue that like you should just wait till marriage.
It seems like a lot of the teens on the street thought that one of the most common misconceptions was that everybody's having sex. I think that's true, that most of the time a lot of people think like, oh, they're having sex, when they're not really. And like rumor spreads and everything. That's definitely one of the most common misconceptions. Are there any other misconceptions you guys can think of?
Well, maybe like if there's a rumor going around about this person is having sex, maybe they're really not. And people are just saying it because they want to make themselves like higher popularity or something. And you could be listening to that and then passing it on.
Well, a more general misconception is more like the fact that it's more like a status symbol, you know? Like people say like, oh, I did this and this and this, and then the next person will be like, oh, I want to be like that because I got to catch up to the next person, so I want to have that status also.
Yeah.
I think a misconception is, you know, once you hit a certain age, and once you hit a certain age and have a girlfriend who she also hits a certain age, then it's like, okay, you're supposed to have sex. I think that's a big misconception nowadays too.
I think a misconception is about it being okay and safe if you use protection. I mean, just because you may be protecting yourselves from certain things, you cannot protect yourselves from all STDs, and forms of protection don't always work, and you could end up getting pregnant, and they're not foolproof. And so I think that that's a big misconception, and some people think that they are and think that everything's going to be okay as long as they use protection.
But you have to think about the emotional stress too, you know, like if you have sex before you're married and you're going to be emotionally scarred, you know, like if that person dumps you or something, then that you're not going to be the same.
Yeah, you think it's hard now to go through a breakup, whether you're the one getting broken up with or the one doing the breaking up. It's got to be a million times harder if you guys have had some sort of sexual intercourse between the two of you. I can't imagine how emotionally difficult that must be for both parties.
Because you're so much closer.
I think also another common misconception is that the Catholic Church is against sex, which is really not true. It's just that the Catholic Church promotes abstinence. And so a lot of people are turned off by that from the Catholic Church, what they preach.
Yeah, I don't think that the church says, it's a bad thing. I just think that people should just respect the fact that, sex is supposed to be like a sacred thing,
And you only share it with the person that you're really going to spend the rest of your life with.
Mm-hmm. I think it's important to remember that, one of the misconceptions somebody on the Man on the Streets talked about was that if you have sex with a guy, that'll make them like you. Well, in my opinion, I think it's actually the opposite. If this guy really loves me, he's going to be okay with waiting for me till marriage. And so I think that that's another misconception that's out there.
And he might lose respect for you because it shows that he can push you around, and then he'd have less respect for you, so that kind of shows that he doesn't really love you.
Yeah, because when you're married, you have love and respect. So if that person loves you, they can respect you.
Faith is often one of the factors teens talk about as being supportive of their decision to not be sexually active.
Teenagers who don't attend religious services are more likely than others to have sex before marriage.
Let's go back to our interview with Christina and find out if her faith influences her decisions about sex and what advice she has to offer.
Don't be pressured into doing anything that you might regret in the future. I want to keep my virginity to myself. It's a sacred thing, and I feel more comfortable that way. And my friends, they give a lot of advice for me, don't, because they know I'm involved with somebody, don't have sex because we know you're not ready. We know physically and emotionally that I'm not ready for it. My faith influences me because I believe in God and God's word to wait until you're in love and you're married.
Christians understand sexual intimacy in sacred terms. God created each of us with a basic human need for intimacy and love.
When two people come to love one another in a deep and abiding way, they stop thinking about themselves and think only about the good of the other person.
This kind of committed love is selfless and finds its appropriate end in marriage.
Within marriage, sexual activity is an expression of total self-gift.
It is entrusting yourself to another completely and without reservation.
How does your relationship with God help you to make decisions about sexual activity?
Well, because he believes in you so much, you can put yourself to him and just listen to what he has to say. And you can always make decisions with his help.
And it's not like sex is a bad thing. I mean, this is one of God's greatest gifts to you. And it's even in the Bible, in the Song of Solomon, where it's the love of a man and a woman. And really, that's one of the most sacred things. And it really brings you into the love of God and the Holy Trinity and all that. Like, when you're having sexual intercourse, that's experiencing God's love, you know? And that should really happen in the committed relationship of marriage, when you know you're with the person that you're going to be with for the rest of your life, and that's your true love. And
God gave us the gift of sexuality as a way of creating new life in His image, which should be created in a loving relationship where two people are committed to each other.
I think it's also important for us to remember that our God is a forgiving God, and if you have had sex and it made that decision in your life and you weren't married, then, I mean, we do have reconciliation and God will forgive you, and you can start new. I mean, well, you can't start new in the sense that you won't be a virgin again, but just because you have sex once doesn't mean you should be like, okay, well, I might as well just go do it again now, because you can ask God for forgiveness through reconciliation and through prayer, and you can get through that.
Yeah, it says in the Bible that God wants us to wait until we get married to have sex, and I'm going to follow that because it's my faith, and not only because God wants us to do it, but because it's my choice.
That's a big thing nowadays, is it is your choice, and I think a lot of people, feel that they are being pressured with the peer pressure, and if they feel like that choice is almost being taken away from them in a sense, that, their friends want them to do it, or not even that they want them to do it, but maybe their friends have done it and they're, oh, well, when are you going to do it? When are you going to do it? And it takes, the ball out of their court, so to speak. And I think that that's important to know, that it's your choice, it's your option, You can wait. It's okay.
Yeah, because
it's your body.
Yeah, because most people nowadays, they're not thinking for themselves anymore because they see that everybody else is doing it, so they're thinking, oh, I got to catch up to everybody else.
And also with that, if they're your friends and they're asking you to do that, they'll understand if you say, no, it's against my religion or it's against my faith. If they're really your friends, they won't hate you for that. And it still is your choice.
And I think that our faith also has something to say to us about spreading rumors about others who may or may not be sexually active. Because when you look at the Virgin Mary, and she wasn't married to Joseph, but nobody understood how she could be pregnant and giving birth if she'd never had sex. And the rumors, they flew. And I think that that's saying something to us about, we don't know about other people's personal relationships, nor is it our business. So we shouldn't be spreading rumors about other people's sexuality.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of people, they just say like, yeah, so-and-so, they did this and everything, and then it just spreads like wildfire and everyone knows, and it might not even be true.
Yeah, like in the Bible, a lot of St. Paul's letters talks about how you shouldn't commit yourself to anything, of this world. Like you don't conform to the guy next to you or the movies or anything today. You got to conform yourself to Christ and
right.
what He teaches us.
It's all going back to peer pressure, and we bring up a lot of instances peer pressure on sex, but there's peer pressure out there for everything, drugs and all that kind of stuff. So, no matter what you're being confronted with, we happen to be talking about sex a lot. Just be your own person, or if it helps, be God's disciple, and live your life through God, and know that He wouldn't want you to be out there just having sex, with a bunch of random partners. He wants you to save yourself for marriage, and you shouldn't be forced into doing anything that you don't want to do.
And I think one of the ways we can really do that and find the strength to do that is through prayer, because even though we may be getting pressure from people at school and our peers and from movies and the media, we know that God is a constant in our life. He is always there for us, and He's our rock and our strength. And if we pray to Him and ask Him for strength and guidance in these situations where we may be feeling that we're being swayed by things around us, I think that will give us a lot of strength and help guide us in the right direction.
I think it comes down to, like a little saying, I think we might have mentioned it before, WWJD, what would Jesus do? I just think whenever you're confronted with peer pressure, just think about that. And that's really, I think, how you can live a Christian life. Just ask yourself, what would Jesus do whenever you're confronted with a situation that you're not sure what to do? Like peer pressure, having to do with sex, you know, what would Jesus do? Wait till marriage, you know?
If you would like to learn more about sex and peer pressure and how to avoid it, visit the website truelovewaits.com.
The True Love Waits movement is a little more than 10 years old and challenges teens to make the right and radical choice of sexual purity.
Hundreds of thousands of young people have taken the True Love Waits pledge to abstain from sex until marriage.
Their promise cards will be displayed at the Summer Olympics in Athens this year as a witness to students from all over the world.
What has your experience been with sex and peer pressure? We want to know.
Contact us through our website.
The address is www.realfaithtv.com.
Or you can call us at 609-406-7402.
And remember, God created you to be the perfect partner for some special person in marriage.
Living chastely is the best way to be healthy and mature enough to recognize the fullness of life and love to which you have been called.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on Real Faith TV. God bless.